gonna have to concede and let him have his way, or you're gonna have to kill him.
As we entered the final season of Black Sails, we expected plenty of deaths, more intense high seas action, Treasure Island tie-ins, and most importantly, the inevitable falling out between both of our main characters. That is what we have been building towards, and as Season 4 kicked off, Flint and Silver's bond was stronger than ever as the pirate fleet sailed towards Nassau in attempt to reclaim their home. Governor Rogers and the English had taken it from them last year, but after the hanging of Charles Vane and badly underestimating the pirates' resolve, Flint led them to victory and gave them a fighting chance at retaking the island. And what a fitting way it was for the final season to kick off in. I mean, it was disastrous for the pirates as they played right into Rogers' hands, but the spectacle on shore was a tremendous feat of television. I'm talking Game of Thrones Battle of the Bastards / Hardhome here. Maybe not quite to that scale, but to be anywhere near that just shows the quality that the show has on offer. Being pummeled by cannon fire leading directly into that underwater segment was a memorable feat if there was ever one. I believe it took the production team nearly all season to film this premiere episode, and I'm not surprised after looking at the final product. But it just goes to prove the level of effort involved to bring the show's quality up to that next level. Watching Silver be dragged to the bottom of the ocean really was breathtaking to watch. Credit where credit is due here, because this was a special scene. Carnage reigned above the surface as Silver fought to free himself, and by the time he was able to make it ashore, he ran into someone who had vanished from recent memory. Israel Hands, the future right-hand man of Long John Silver, was the one to find the Pirate King and drag him away to safety. Their partnership didn't start out smoothly, but give Silver time and his way with words will always seem to construct a positive outcome. Hans, who I like to call the Walking Reaper, also proved to be one of the most deadly combatants that we have ever come across. He cut through Max's guards with ease when his and Silver's foundations were still being built. And after he was fully on board with Silver and his plans, his dual-wielding onslaught proved to be too much for the easily detestable Captain Berenger. Kris Larkin, aka Toby Stephens' real-life brother, wasn't around for long, but he effortlessly stepped into this world, and his stint with Berenger gave us a character who was oh so easy to hate. Seeing him get his just desserts after that standoff in Nassau Square was a crowd-pleasing ending to a short-lived but excellent villain. But who was the main man to garner so much hatred this year? It was none other than Governor Rogers. We all know what it was for, and I'll get to that in a second, but with him now married to Eleanor Guthrie, it gave him a new rough edge that we haven't seen before. We've heard all these stories about how unforgiving the governor can be, but we've yet to see it. He stepped into the role of the main antagonist last year, but he was yet to solidify his role as the main villain. Well, in episode 3, it took him just about 20 minutes for him to claim that role and run with it for the remainder of the season. His keel-hauling of Teach was one of the most hard-to-watch deaths that I have ever seen on TV. His relentless "again" was pulling on your emotions as we could do nothing but watch on, speechless at what was unfolding. Hearing Teach's body be dragged along those razor-sharp barnacles sent shivers down your spine. He survived 3 rotations of keel hauling, saving Jack in the process, before eventually being put down. Teach refused to break, laughing at the face of death, as he made sure his legend would never be forgotten.
I will show them what the consequences are for threatening that which I hold most dear. I will leave no doubt about it.
Ray Stevenson was one hell of a Blackbeard, and I will remember that portrayal for years to come. And Rogers did all of this and was committed to the cause for one person. And that was his wife. Eleanor had taken up with the governor, and as much as we all loved to hate her character, she did try her best at escaping Nassau and be done with the place for good. She was pregnant, which made the harsh truth for Rogers even harder when he knew underneath it was him that caused her timely demise. I've wanted to see her comeuppance for a while now, and to have it play out the way it did, to be killed by a random unnamed Spanish soldier that was there only because of her husband, just made it feel so much more real. And as the governor held his wife in his arms, then he was truly unhinged. There were so many wonderful action scenes again this year. I've spoken already about the feats that the premiere was able to achieve, but let's not forget there was the battle in Nassau Square, the Spanish's invasion of the island, and the final 3 episodes which centred heavily on Skeleton Island. We know Black Sails is a prequel to the Robert Louis Stevenson novel of Treasure Island, so as the series was rapidly coming to a close, we expected and hoped for plenty of tie-ins to a story many of you are already aware of. That's why we knew characters like Silver were never in danger of being killed off. We knew they were going to survive the show, though I must say Billy gave us reason to doubt that theory on multiple occasions this year. Billy has been trying his hardest to drive a wedge between Flint and his partner since the first time he saw Silver as a potential leader of the pirates. And the show fooled me. I expected the seeds of doubt that were in Flint and Silver's partnership to start growing a lot earlier than they eventually did. Billy failed with his manipulation to turn Silver against Flint, and for his troubles he was the one that was cast out, beaten and thrown to the wolves for the terrible mistakes he had made. He did deserve it in a way. His standoff with Flint practically caused a civil war, and after Silver outcast him, he turned his back on his brethren and all of his outlaw beliefs. He betrayed the pirates to the governor and stood alongside him in the final battle. He fittingly had one final fight against his former captain, who, after tussling atop the 2 ships, again came up short too. Flint is the master of survivability. He's endured so much and fought for so long, it left many fans, including me, hoping that he was going to survive. Flint's fate was always very ambiguous in the books, but after Silver found out some intriguing information from Max, he decided to investigate further. Supposedly, there was an estate in Savannah where English convicts were being used as labourers. High-ranking and rich families in England were said to partake in this particular investment if they had a troubling family member. Now, we heard that Thomas Hamilton had died, but we never actually saw it happen. Rules generally tend to be, if you don't literally see a character die, the likelihood is that they are probably still alive. Silver sent his man to find out more about this remote estate, and as he and Flint came to blows in the finale, he gave his friend one of 2 choices. You saw the hurt etching through Silver's veins, being forced to cut Flint off on the cusp of achieving all he was fighting for. Flint and his crew, since the very beginning of the show, fought to bring freedom to the new world. History tells us that this journey was destined to fail. The journey we followed would culminate with that war never coming to pass. It's not surprising, of course. We know the pirates never got their war, and those who remained outlaws were scattered across the world. But knowing this did not take away from the pair's final confrontations. We'd only just delved into some flashbacks where we saw Flint training Silver to be more adept in combat, and no sooner after that we were then thrust back into the present where Silver set a kill order on Flint and battled him himself in the penultimate episode. It mirrored how badly their friendship had all gone downhill since Maddie was captured. All Silver wanted now was her freed and safe in his grasp. He was even willing to trade the cache of gems to accomplish this task. Flint wanted the same outcome, but believed Silver was compromised to his emotions. It led Flint to stealing and burying the treasure, but even though he knew Silver would react aggressively, he still cared and saved him when Dooley was about to shoot him. At the end of the day, Silver sentenced Flint to life in the Savannah estate. He pleaded with Flint for him to accept the outcome, as he didn't want to pull the trigger. And all that pent-up anger, the anguish that fueled his ever-growing passion for the war that he was determined to fight in, disappeared within a second. As soon as he saw Thomas alive again, none of that mattered anymore. Captain Flint was born from a tragedy, and his legend was buried along with that treasure. In real life, Flint died in Savannah with effects from too much rum. So he's in the right location for that to happen now, but I imagine that outcome would not be until many years down the line from now. Now there is a little ambiguity regarding Flint's fate. While on the surface it seems like he got his reunion with Thomas, the ending which I personally see myself, there is a possibility of that not being the case. A much darker fate is teased. Did Silver shoot Flint back on Skeleton Island and make up the remainder of the tale as part of an elaborate lie? And what caused the pirates to turn around all of a sudden? It's up to each of us to interpret what we think for ourselves, but for either outcome, neither is completely definitive. I read somewhere that the writers did confirm that what we saw play out was the actual outcome, but as I've said, I see Flint in Savannah as the actual ending. It fits the fact of him dying there years later, and Silver isn't yet the villain who he will eventually become. In any case, Black Sails was a story revolved around Captain Flint, so it was a fitting way for his character to sign off in that emotional ending. Though if I had it my way, his scene would have been the closing moment of the show. Now, Flint may be gone, and Silver off living his life with Mardy for the time being at least, but the pirate's influence is still remembered to this very day. And for that, we have Mr. Rackham and the Jolly Roger to thank.
Get us underway.
My overall verdict for the fourth and final season of Black Sails is a 9 out of 10. On overall scope, Black Sails has been one of the best shows on TV for the past few years now, as the final season concluded with the pirates forming one last stand in attempt to free the reins of piracy across the New World. It was a thrilling conclusion to the story. Battles were fought, lives were lost, love triumphed over war and violence, and journeys came full circle as Black Sails signed off on its 4-season run. It's still criminally underwatched, and I keep telling some of my friends to get into the show, as I know as soon as they start watching it, they're likely to binge the whole thing now. I know some people think the first season is a little slow, but you cannot question the relentless quality found throughout the rest of the show. Production values must have skyrocketed again this year, with plenty of high-intensity action that gave even the best of the best shows a run for their money. The premiere is a prime example, whether it was the gripping underwater segments or the visceral massacre on deck. That episode was up there with some of the best in the show's history. Though as gruesome as it was, I felt the third episode was probably the best in this year's run. Just witnessing what happened to Teach play out in front of our very eyes left a scar that will take a long time to heal. Now the finale's battle was brilliantly shot, but I really enjoyed the close to a full episode we spent on Skeleton Island. We had flashbacks that were akin to the season 3 finale as we delved even deeper into Flint and Silver's friendship. We had the pair fight it out after Flint had already fought in multiple duels already. He had beaten Hans, killed Georgie in a 1 versus 1, and we lost others such as Mr. de Groot in a shocking close to the episode. The island overall was an excellent homage to Treasure Island. Now the show's score and its use of music gave certain scenes an elevated level of meaning this year. The ones that come to mind were Flint vs Silver and the final battle where Flint and Jack finally defeated the Governor. Both scenes just felt so fulfilling and crowd-pleasing. Each scene had been built up for such a long time, and the use of sound gave each of them a very emotional and meaningful ending. Now I've yet to talk about Jack, Anne and Max thus far. By now if you've seen any of my other reviews you know that I've never really liked Max's character. She's always been eager to jump ship and betray her former partners. She was the one who caused the pirates to walk into that trap in the premiere, so I was eager to see her pay for the actions she had done. Eleanor you can understand for some of the choices she made, but with Max I didn't always see it that way. She helped Jack mostly because of Anne in their trip to Philadelphia, where she sought to gain investment from Eleanor's grandparents. The aim there was to help drive the governor out of Nassau for good. Eleanor was already dead by then, and Jack had just about escaped the wrath of Rogers after what happened with Teach. And I won't lie, I did fear for Jack this year, especially when the Spanish were involved. But we ended the series as both Jack and Anne channeled the spirit of the pirates and ushered in a new age for New Providence Island. Overall, Black Sails is a tremendous show and a worthy prequel to the Treasure Island novel. Toby Stephens is the heart and soul of the series, and he deserves the utmost praise for his leading portrayal. His character development along with Silver's proved to be some of the best that TV has to offer. Just go back to season 1 and look at Silver and you could never imagine him morphing into the pirate legend we see today. Luke Arnold donned the mantle brilliantly, and as much as I would have loved to have more seasons, if the writers thought best to end it now, I trust in their decision. They've earned that. And for all of you out there who've watched the show like me, spread the word and the popularity for the show is sure to increase. So what did you guys think about the 4th and final season of Black Sails? Which season was your favourite? And what was your most memorable moment from the final season? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the review. And I'll see you on the next one.